You're listening to Good Morning Ulster with Mark Simpson and Chris Buckler. Now we're going to return to a story we've covered on this programme a number of times and an issue we've covered a number of times. And a mediator working with parents of children who've been abducted by former partners is calling on the Foreign Office to do more to help them. He's called for child abduction to be treated with the same seriousness as child trafficking. Among those that Miceal O'Hurley is helping is Mandy Kelly. You may remember her children, Zayn and Kareem, were taken by their father while on a family holiday in Egypt. We spoke to Mandy earlier this month.
It's 2.5 years since I saw my two children, and apologies for that. I'm actually getting emotional even speaking about this. I can't even put the image in my head about how much my children have grown. Since I saw them last, like, I still have this image of my two children as being like, you know, very young and, being in my arms. And I know that, like, obviously they're still of tender age.
Well, Miceal O'Hurley is currently involved in efforts to try to reunite Mandy with her children. I've been speaking to him alongside Natalie Kennedy, whose daughter Alice was abducted by her father when he took her on a holiday to Florida. It's understood he's now taken their daughter to Dubai. You'll hear from Natalie in a moment. But first, I started by asking Miceal for the latest on Mandy Kelly's fight to get her children back.
We have tried to recover the children. Unfortunately, the father has disappeared with the children, has moved from address to address. So we're working with our Egyptian partners to try to recover the children as quickly as possible.
That is incredibly frustrating, though, and I imagine also incredibly upsetting for a parent.
In a large way, it's avoidable. It's important in these cases to strike while the iron's hot. When we know where the children are at a certain location at a certain time. But unfortunately, whether it's through bilateral delays country to country or just navigating the court system, which takes time, it provides an opportunity for the abducting parent to move the child from location to location. It's what we call further abduction. So it's just not the original abduction that becomes the issue, but then it becomes finding a person in a city of 9.5 million or a country of 68 million. It's very difficult. And that will have a lifelong, profound psychological effect on the children.
Miceal, and I know you're working with a number of parents and you're working as a mediator. I suppose there will be some people asking, though, if a parent has gone to this kind of stage already of abducting a child, is there a point in mediation? Are they prepared to have those kind of discussions?
I can imagine that every abducting parent believes that they're doing the right thing by their child. It's a bit delusional, but they convince themselves of that. It's a mistake. Unfortunately, the court systems are one of adversarial process, accuse and defend. It will eventually end up as a criminal matter. Mediation is always the best alternative to going to court or ending up in handcuffs. Or as one Egyptian judge said to me, this will end in one of two ways. One of them is bad and one of them is very bad. Let's hope they choose bad.
Well, also on the line is Natalie Kennedy. And I know, Natalie, you've also been working with Miceal, and you're a mum who has been left in a position where they can't be entirely sure exactly where their child is. And that must be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking, really. Me and Alice were very, very close. The last time I spoke to her was the 23rd of May. So I don't know how she is or anything. So it's very, very anxious. That's how it makes me feel.
What happened? How did it end up that you ended up losing her and being abducted by her father?
We've had pretty much ongoing court proceedings since Alice was about 4 months old. And that was mainly because the father wanted full residency of Alice. And they all come back saying that Alice should live with me. And he just didn't really like that decision. He'd been trying to get full residency for pretty much 6 years since she was born. And he said he wanted to take Alice to Disneyland, which the court agreed. I did try and tell them, I wasn't happy with this holiday. But they were, no, she'll enjoy it. It's a holiday. It's his parental responsibility. And that was that. He took her on holiday July 21st, I think it was. And I haven't seen her since.
And what are the authorities doing to help you? Do you think that they've been doing enough to try to get you back with Alice?
No, not at all. I have tried literally every single organisation I can think of to help. I went to my local police force, and they wouldn't help, because in the UK, when a parent takes a child on holiday on the back of a court order, it's classed as wrongful retention, which isn't a crime in the UK. So
Some people would just be completely confused listening to that, though, because he was taking her on a holiday and you haven't seen her in over a year. How is that still kind of covered by any kind of a court document?
to me, it's not. It's morally wrong. It's the whole thing is wrong. Even if they're saying they can't help for whatever reason, on a moral level, there's a 6-year-old child, a vulnerable 6-year-old child, that doesn't speak to me anymore, isn't in any education, and she wants to come home. She's told me she wants to come home, and nothing.
And Micheal, that is part of the problem, that we have some countries that are not signed up to this international agreement about child abduction. What more do you think the authorities could be doing to help mums like that, Lee?
Well, it's not just mothers. It happens to fathers too. And when it does, it's just as bad for them. I would say this. The court has been very generous and good to Natalie. They've examined the evidence. While it has been frustrating that they've given the father 5 opportunities to return the child, when he has participated in hearings by video, when he's been represented by counsel in the UK, he has never complied with any of his promises. The courts are often a bit too generous in giving permission to take children out of the country without having the parent post a surety bond, a cash bond that they will return the child. So there's really no disincentive for a bad actor. Often the countries to which they take the children become complicit because they do not sign up to the 1980 Hague Convention on Child Kidnapping. We need a new paradigm by which to address international parental child kidnapping. We have entire police operations that deal with international child trafficking. We need to treat these cases as just as important, because the damage done to a child, be it by a child trafficker or a parent, is just as profound. It's a horrendous situation. We need to take another look at it, and I would say that the Foreign Office needs to do a better job of working with their partners in the Emirates to make them aware of the situation, that the father is now facing a committal order for Pentonville prison for his misconduct, that he entered the UAE in the act of a criminal offense, the abduction of a child. And I would call upon the Foreign Office and David Lammy to be more vigorous in this situation.
I mean, a couple of months ago, Micheal, we also spoke to on the programme Catherine Flanagan, who's from Belfast, whose son was taken by his father and his family in Lebanon. She's been finding it a very frustrating process as well. Have a listen to what she told us.
It's not a tenable situation where a court in Belfast orders that a baby, is to be returned to his mother, and actually that mother doesn't even know where the child is. In a place like Lebanon currently, it's not safe.
Now, Micheal, I know you've been working with Catherine as well to try and get David back home to Northern Ireland. I'm very aware as well of what is happening in Lebanon at the moment. Can I ask, have you made any progress there? Has there been anything to say to try and help her get David back?
I visited Beirut in early August, despite the high-level evacuation order. And I met with the father. I'm satisfied that at that point he was taking very good care of that child. I've seen videos, he's happy, healthy, but the situation is unstable at best. we have a mandatory evacuation of British citizens from Beirut and all of Lebanon. Young David is a British citizen. He's an Irish citizen. He is a Lebanese citizen too. But I think that any parent would want their child to be in a place of safety. We will continue to work on the issues of access, custody, and residence. I do
But
have hope.
again, you are being careful with your words, Micheál. But I mean, the High Court did rule in Belfast last year that David must be returned to Northern Ireland. And again, it gives that question, doesn't it, about whether these court judgments are being enforced, about whether or not the authorities really have the power to do what is best for the child.
Well, I want to point out as a mediator, my job is to be fair to both sides and come up with a solution which everybody can buy into. The Lebanese courts, the Jafari court has ruled in the father's favor and said the child should stay there. So both sides have legitimate encouragement from their own courts, but it hasn't resolved the situation. And I would encourage David's father to work with the mother and she to work with him to find a solution that puts David in safety and so that he can benefit from two parents.
Natalie, you're all facing the same problems, and it is a very, very difficult thing to go through. It is something that I imagine is exhausting, trying to get through this process. Is there enough support? Are you supporting each other through this?
Yeah, I'm in contact with quite a few mothers that are going through the same thing. And we do have a little bit of comfort that way. But the issue is that we haven't got our children. So that's always going to be the issue. You know, we're just all heartbroken, really. There's not enough help for people out there or parents out there that have lost their children through this.
And that is the key question for you at this stage. I mean, do you believe that you will see Alice soon? Because that's the thing that matters more than anything else, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay positive, but I also feel that I'm never going to see her again because I'm not getting any support from the government or the people that can actually help. I'm not going to give up. I can't give up because if I give up on trying to get her home, I've given up on Alice and I can't do that. But I do feel fearful that I'm not going to see her again.
That is Natalie Kennedy. Now, we did ask the Foreign Office for a comment, but are still waiting for a response. However, on Catherine Flanagan's story, BBC Northern Ireland's Spotlight programme is going to have more on that next week. Our reporter Patrick Fee has gone to Beirut in search of a father who's keeping his son in what is now one of the Middle East's worst conflict zones in defiance of a court order. That is Spotlight, which will be on BBC One on Tuesday and also on the BBC iPlayer.